summer's evening, standing on the mound. The ballpark's full of cheering crowd. Home team's back in town. With all pitches at his command, stares the batter down.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Painting Corners Baseball Podcast. I'm your co-host, Johnny C, with Aidan Smith. Here we are tonight, October 18th, bringing you big news from Seattle, Los Angeles, and what is looking up to be a wonderful World Series. How are you doing tonight, Aidan?
Doing beautifully. We just saw a terrific Game 5 at T-Mobile. And
your voice says it all.
Yeah, Ryan and I were there. We were screaming. I mean, we saw Cal hit the big homer there, the wall scraper. And it's crazy because you had the homer from Cal, then you got the 2 walks, and then they hit Randy, right? Which is so quintessential. And that's really been the story all year for people who watch a lot of Mariners baseball, or even people who have watched Randy on the Tampa Bay Rays. He's one of those guys who's just always gotten hit a lot. When Gino came up, right, you could tell that there's this sentiment that no one wanted to express, but is Gino gonna take a couple fastballs and then swing at a slider 6 feet away from him, right? But he ended up going with the pitch and went oppo on the granny. So, you had Rick Riz and all these guys calling it like, you got to call your grandmother to get all the sandwich stuff together for the grand salami. So
it's funny too, because the broadcast was talking about how he'd been doing nothing home run wise. And when he hit his first one, I believe, that game. And so it was his second of the game, the grand slam. And what a weird sequence that was. I mean, I think I just want to get off my chest first. Like, the Blue Jays bullpen, come on, what are we doing, baby? So it felt, we can get into, and I'd like to get into a couple key points the Blue Jays had offensively they should have capped on. But what we're looking at is, I'm the viewer, Granddaddy Scherzer barking at Schneider, winning the prior game. Life is good to be a Blue Jays fan. We're tied up.
Oh,
Joey Loperfito's in the lineup. The vibes are high. And then you come in this game, and Gossman gets nicked for a run, whatever. Okay, cool. They got the 2-1 lead in the 8th. You decide to pin, so you go to the bullpen. I think Little comes in, gives up the bomb to Dumper. Okay, we're going to pitch to Dumper. Got that. That tracks. Makes sense. But what we're going to do is we're going to pitch around the entire bottom of the order, walk the bases loaded, and then get into a hitter's count to Gino. That just didn't make any sense to me. I get it's the playoffs, we're nervous, but, I mean, what are your thoughts? What's going through Schneider, the Blue Jays, the bullpen's mind at that point?
So you're bringing in Little to face Cal. So Little's a lefty who has really emerged from the depths of the Toronto farm system there, and he's just kind of exploded onto the scene for that Jays bullpen that badly needed some fresh blood. I mean, he had a 3.03 ERA, 3.25x ERA over 79 games this year. So he's been excellent, but that's also, I'd have to check, but probably the most he's ever pitched. I mean, okay, so he threw 100 innings in A-ball in 2018, right? So appearing in 79 games is a career high as far as appearances, right? So he's pitched a lot this year. He had a decent at bat with Cal, all things considered, for a guy that's hit 60 home runs in the regular season and then another 4 in the playoffs. But Cal has got a hold of it. I mean, frankly, being at the game, we were right behind the foul pole in left field. Well, not quite behind it, but right to the left of it. And I'll tell you, I mean, it felt like a fly ball, right? I mean, you're like, is that thing gonna get out? And you're kind of waving it. You're waving it out, right? And I actually couldn't see for a moment, and then I just saw everyone went crazy, right? And I'm not trying to obfuscate my Homer bias here, right? I was rooting for the Seattle Mariners last night for sure.
Oh, wow, he buried the lead deep.
I did, yeah. So definitely burying the lead, but yeah. Anyway, so when they bring in Sir Anthony Dominguez,
they tied it up too. Sorry, keep going.
When when Little had struggled, right? I mean, you're going to bring in fresh arms to try to figure it out, someone who can control the zone. Dominguez has had his moments as a reliever in Major League Baseball, but, he's not prime Craig Kimbrell or Mariano by any stretch of the imagination, right? I mean,
he had his moments in 22.
He's had his moments, but ultimately the bullpen is why the Jays have gotten snake bitten a few times throughout the postseason, and why they haven't rolled over some of these teams. I think they have a 6.57 through the entire postseason, and they have around that in the championship series as well. So we're seeing the Jays bullpen. So they have a 6.88 ERA in 17 innings so far in the CS. So it's been rough, and that's their real weakness. Is once a guy like Goss is pulled from the game, or you have Mad Max there giving you one more legendary performance at 41 years old.
Oh, we love to see it.
I gotta tell you, I love that guy. I mean, he's old school. Just a beast, right? I mean, they just aren't made like that anymore. Yeah. He's even got he's got the two different colored eyes. I mean, the whole thing is just perfect. It coalesces. It's like he was put here just to pitch. It's the only reason he's on Earth, right? Just to be a stud on the mound.
it's the 12 season DB's Dragon Ball Z battle, and he's just the one martial arts master that comes in for one function in the great battle of life. Mad Max barking at John Schneider on the mound, something I'll never forget. Because that can be really cringe. It can be really stale and cringe. Imagine if it goes the other way, where he doesn't get that final strikeout to walk off the mound with the 2 outs, right?
Yeah.
It's not a good look. And he does it. And that's the beauty of baseball. It's almost like these moments can begin to feel inevitable. Your breathing gets in rhythm. You feel really locked into the game, as if like there's this inevitability to it, this vertigo, like the moment is desiring to fall. The moment is desiring to fall, locked into place like a perfect Tetris piece, and you can't avoid it. And I think that's where some of the sunken faces in the dugout of the team that knows it's going to lose come from, right? And so I just wanted to speak on this one thing is I started to get that vibe in this game. I texted you about it.
Yeah.
Right. So for the past,
you do get the feeling. You do get it.
And it was a couple moments. It was in the bases loaded, strikeout, Ernie Clement number, rally steps on home plate, double play, right? But for me, it was really that moment I messaged you about that, like, for the third game in a row, at the top of the third, IKF hits a leadoff double. Yeah. And who comes up? Jimenez, Mr., hasn't hit a home run in 100 plate appearances. And in 2 games in a row, IKF hits a double, lead off the third, bam, Jimenez hits a bomb. Jays get 2 runs. So the third game in a row, what happens? IKF comes up, hits a double, Jimenez comes up, and he hits into a double play where they double up IKF at second. And it was in that moment I said the vibes have changed. The Mariners are winning this game.
So, yeah, I think the play you're referring to, if I remember correctly, when IKF got doubled up, that was Naylor, right? When Naylor threw to second?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So there were those 2 double plays where Josh got the ball at first and then flipped it to second. But then you had the double play with Cal there where he touched home and threw to first. So
that's a good correction, yeah.
Both of those double plays had massive win probability added for Seattle. And obviously we're talking about a zero-sum concept here. So the same win probability added for Seattle is a win probability loss for Toronto there. So, but yeah, I mean, the Jays have hit. They're going to continue to hit. And that's the thing that, the starting pitching for Seattle knew they were going to run into, but I don't think we expected, the Seattle rotation to have a 6.98 ERA through 5 games. 2.33 home run per 9. I mean, obviously over a full season, a guy with those kinds of numbers is losing his job. So when you're in a CS and one of your strengths is supposed to be your starting 5, that is a concern, right? And if you can believe it, I mean, their xERA is even worse, a 7.28 xERA. You don't see that every day. So the starting pitching has been a rough watch for Seattle. They've managed to survive it, but they cannot continue to pitch like that.
And why have they survived it? Because our doppelganger of our dear, dear, dear cousin and your brother-in-law, Shane O'Brien, shout out on the podcast.
Yes,
Bryce Miller holding it down for the Seattle Mariners. What is this about?
Yes, he really has. And Bryce has looked sharp in back-to-back starts. There were some wonky moments there last night. I don't think he wasn't as good as he was in his previous start, where he started a little rough and then he dominated. I wouldn't say he dominated last night, but he was good. And, Scherzer, similar, right? I mean, Max Scherzer had an ERA over 10 in September. He had a 10.2 ERA in 4 starts. It looked like the end for him, frankly. He wasn't healthy. The velo's down. And just to go back to that one moment there with him, kind of rebutting John Schneider coming out there, is he is a 3X Cy Young Award winner. He's a 2-time World Series champion. He's also, I would say, one of the big 3 of that generation. So Verlander, Kershaw, Scherzer.
Amen. That's right. That's right.
So
the
I have to say, exactly. So I feel like you can do that if you're Max Scherzer. Can you do that if you're most guys? No. And that's part of who Max is. But and I think Schneider handled it pretty well, right? It's like, you don't love when someone does it, but he's a competitor and he knows who he's dealing with. So, but yeah, Bryce kind of reminded me of Max a little bit, just how he's battled back, and he looks good.
I was thinking about that with John Schneider. Like, how are you going to handle this? Because this could really kill your leadership in the dugout from here on out, right? One guy, I remember the broadcast was zoomed in on Scherzer barking at Schneider in his face, and I caught Vladdy giving like a little quick side eye to Schneider. It was almost like taking a temperature of like, I mean, maybe I'm projecting this onto the situation, but the side eye quickly said, "Are you good with this?" And Schneider played it perfectly. Because if Schneider tries to regain or up, increase that armaments race in that moment, he's going to look weak. It's like the man declaring, "I'm the king."
Right.
It's not going to look great. So he did it perfectly. He looked a little ruffled, a little grumpy, a little red in the face, a little like just Max, right. Max. That's the perfect way to transcend that experience.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the other caveat that I'll add to the Scherzer thing is just that what a lot of people I think sometimes can underestimate is that some of these veterans, it's like having a manager on the mound, and Scherzer actually said that to John. I'm right. A manager out there. And initially John Schneider was skeptical of that, but over time he's realized that he is. I mean, he knows the bullpens, he knows who threw yesterday. He knows when his stuff is, losing it's either the velo or the break on the breaking balls, and he knows all of it, right? So he has a pretty good feel for when he's done. That's not to say that Schneider's not the one running the show. It's just, Scherzer is a special breed in the sense of just his knowledge of the game overall and understanding the context and the situation that he's in. So
that's right.
And who else is elite at that is Cal Raleigh. I mean, Cal is elite at managing the game and understanding the context of the situation that he's competing in, right?
And that's why you want him as MVP so bad. I can just feel it. Yeah, nice.
It's segue. A big piece of it. It's a big piece of it for sure. I mean, if I was ever going to protest anything, it would have to be Aaron Judge winning the MVP.
It's not that the rent is too damn high. It's not it's not that Bitcoin dropped 15%. It's Cal Raleigh not getting the MVP is the best damn catcher in the league. That's you, right?
Yeah, that's on the epitaph. That's just where it gets me, right? It's just it's a sore spot for me if it ends up that way. So we'll see. But
here's your aloe vera. What's crazy is in split screen on my machine right now, I've got the Baseball Reference and Baseball Savant pages in parallel of Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh for this exact point. We assure our dear viewer that this is not some contrived canned segue. This is, in fact, just the spur of the moment, living in the flow. And here's my argument. Aaron Judge, 331 batting average. Cal Raleigh, 247. Aaron Judge, almost 10 WAR. Cal Raleigh, 7.
You're on Baseball Reference.
I'm on both, baby, because the Baseball Savant's a lot of hundreds, and Cal Raleigh is floating some icicles.
But when you're talking about the 7 WAR, you're talking about B WAR, right?
I'm looking at Baseball Reference WAR for 2025.
Yeah, you can't really go B WAR with catchers. You got to use F4 because catchers, it factors in pitch framing and different things like that with F4. So like Cal's F4 is 9-1.
I feel like I'm like Mace Windu coming out of like, Jedi training class, and you're like Master Yoda being like, well, actually,
or
this is
I'm
how you meditate.
or I'm just Oscar from The Office, and everyone wants to punch me in the face, and I'm like, well, this is how you use F4, and this is how you use B WAR. Right?
We're all dying to know. Fill us in. What's the difference? Why do we care?
Yeah. Well, I'm a Philistine 9 different ways, but I do know how to use F4 and B WAR. But yeah, for me, the main way that I use F4 is actually for catchers, because I am a Baseball Reference loyalist. We have a partnership with them, so
shout out B-Ref.
I appreciate you pulling out the B-Ref page, Johnny. But yeah, for catchers, I think you got to go F4. I'm going to go narrative here for a second with this MVP thing before we pivot back to the playoffs. But to put it succinctly, for me, really, Judge was not a complete player this year. He had the forearm injury there, and he couldn't make the throw on the turn. So when guys were turning the corner and saw Judge was coming up with the ball, it's like, you're going home, right? You can't make the throw. So, and I believe he played less than 100 games in the outfield this year, right? So to me, it's just, that's not a complete player. And if you're going to view him as a part-time DH who's not playing a premium up the middle position, you got to factor that in and remember that WAR is a rough nominal, I guess you could call it an aggregate statistic, and it's also a derivative statistic, meaning you're applying weights to raw statistics, putting them all together like you're making a recipe in the kitchen. You're like a chef, stat chef, right? And so like you got to be careful, really, in my opinion, giving too much credence for WAR being like this omniscient stat. That's just my opinion. But
that's right, because the chef of the pastries can make a saccharine dish that satisfies a few uneducated palates. And before we move on, for my uneducated palate, and in case the viewer's wondering and hanging on for the last bite here, WAR. What is the F for?
Fangraphs.
Perfect. Okay, so we're taking into account more of a defensive statistic, or what other weights and knobs, and for the mathematicians out there, thetas are going on in that linear regression equation for tuning. What are we factoring into those weights as well?
There are a few subtle differences with pitching too, like using FIP, field independent pitching, instead of ERA.
We've written a post about it on Painting Corners. Go check it out. FIP, hooray.
Yeah, John wrote a great piece on that you can find via our search tool there. FIP, it'll come right up. So that's one of the big differences, and then as I mentioned, the catching thing, I want to say it's outs above average as well for defense. So that's a little bit different. I'm pretty sure that the runs from fielding stats on Baseball Reference, that's like an eye test thing. And the defensive statistics on Fangraphs it's really just math and computers. So that's another stylistic difference. So there are some subtle differences. I'm certainly not an expert per se on some of the intricacies with the comparison there. But those are some of the big ones that people point to. Hey, I use F-word for advanced data on pitch framing, or I use it for FIP instead of ERA. For me personally, I am somewhat of a consequentialist, meaning, there's something to like a guy who always outperforms his peripheral statistics. I think we've talked about this before, but Jose Quintana, right? Every MLB team gives that guy $5 million a year, and then he has like a 3.5 ERA and throws 150 innings, and he ends up being worth, $20 million a year every year. And he's just not a brand name guy, but he's always outperforming his stats. When you look at his FIP and some of these different things, he doesn't have the swing and miss, and FIP really relies a lot on swing and miss and strikeout minus walk rate. So
Weo, Johnny Hot Takes is in the house. The thing with Cal Raleigh for me just feels like there's this. Cal Raleigh is a beautiful specimen of a human being. I love his eyes, love the stash, beautiful look. Pure analogy here. It feels like the ugly kid in high school got extra votes for like homecoming king because people didn't expect it to happen, and there's this like almost momentum behind it, where Judge is like the Chad, the Chad chiseled face guy that you just almost kind of drone off expecting to win. Run away with homecoming king every year.
I hear you, Johnny. I was neither the Chad or the dark horse for homecoming, so I can't say for sure what that would be like from Cal's perspective. But I do see the metaphor.
To wrap this one, folks, we'll say that we'll leave it as Aidan is pretty much saying you can cook stats in many ways, and you can be an air fryer hack that throws the Trader Joe's ribeye into the air fryer for 20 minutes, dazzled in some olive oil and sprinkle with some sea salt. Or you can go on over to a Michelin restaurant and use the sous vide. Finish it off in the cast iron pan with some pure Irish butter. Up to you, but I am going to lean with Aidan's take because I really like the case of the F war, but still not sold. We'll leave that there for now.
Well, numbers don't lie, but liars figure.
Lies, damn lies, and statistics.
So that's really what it is I just feel like you can kind of create your own narrative. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for MVP. It's pretty tight. Back to the Brewers, Dodgers. I want to cover that for a second. Shohei, masterful performance. 3 home runs, 6 innings, shutty, no Ernies, 10 Ks, historic performance. Brewers, I believe, I'm just going off memory right now, I think they hit 118 in the series.
Flex.
Yikes. We need some transitions. We got to get working on that. I want one of those. Yikes. Yeah. I tell you, though, I don't know the last time I've seen someone hit 118 in a series in the ALCS. Whoa.
Let's not play around, though. Can we just please get it out of the way? 10 Ks, 3 bombs. I swear, is this a family podcast? I'm sorry.
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah,
Let's not
I don't know,
that.
Johnny. We might have to edit out the F-bomb, or we put it there as a cautionary tale and we leave it unedited.
We'll stick to the F war. How about that? That's a compromise.
Yeah. Well, we're Vermonters originally, so it's just G's and crows, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
Shohei's a beast. Shohei is the king of the West, king of the East. What's going on? 10 Ks, 3 bombs. Come on.
He's a total stud, right? He was 1 for 19 in the division series. No extra base hits. There's just a single. He pitched in the series pretty well. But he was a total stud in this series. Really just the one game is where the scales really tipped there. But, he's one of the only guys in the league that can win a series MVP on one game, right? He wasn't going to win the MVP before yesterday, and probably wasn't even close. And he went from being, the 4th or 5th guy that you might select to being number 1 and not even close. And that's a thing that maybe only Shohei Ohtani can really do. So greatest game ever. I'm going to go no there because of the context. Context matters. They were going to roll in that series. Either way, Brewers ran out of pitching. When you're throwing Robert Gasser and McGill and whoever, it's like, they're not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's a fine group of guys, but I don't know. It's not really high leverage. And they ran out of starting pitching. So that's my 2 cents.
I think where the culture's at right now, there's a desensitization that I can at least feel where there's these endless, it feels like a German vocabulary word, just stacking on one more word onto another to create some new enriched meaning. It feels that way sometimes with these superlatives of the world's first guy with orange hair to do the snowboarding half pipe in less than 3 seconds backwards, and it just like adding on some new modifier to qualify it as the first of its kind, right? I think the culture is a little inundated with those things, and I've become desensitized to groundbreaking, glass ceiling shattering moments when there's so many qualifiers appended to them. And I think with Shohei,
helium, right?
It's this moment of introspection where I just go, 10Ks, 3 bombs in a single game. The desensitization has been undone. The dopamine detox, the ice plunge, 6 a.m. wake up has occurred. My head is pounding. I can't fathom this. It's really weird how even with all the hype talk about Ohtani, the spectacle, the comic book hero-esque nature of Ohtani dominating the headlines. And we've come to expect this, right? Despite that, despite the desensitization of the culture's obsession with qualified superlatives, I still am amazed about that performance. And I will continue to be.
Well, he's about to be a 4X MVP in the regular season. There's an argument for best player ever, for sure. Top 5, probably unquestionably. I mean, I'd be interested to see what the debate against that would look like, right? But to take a step back from a more collectivist standpoint rather than the individual, how many innings do you think the Dodgers starting pitching through in 4 games?
I know the answer for the first 2 games, because it was just an amazing sight to see. 17.
I think they threw 17, right?
17, brother. Yeah.
28 2/3. So the bullpen, the Dodgers bullpen, threw 7 1/3 in 4 games. So now contrast that. The Brewers starting pitching in 4 games through 9 innings. To the tune of a 7 ERA, 9.88 xERA. They struggled tremendously. 3 homers per 9. To say rough would be an understatement. And you saw that a lot of their guys are being overused, like the slider from Abner, like just wasn't as sharp. And some of these guys they were overthrown because Pat Murphy was trying to figure something out, and I can't fault him for that. I mean, again, at the end of the day, like the Brewers had 6 starting pitchers 2 months ago, and they ran into a few injuries and so forth. So some of that's bad luck, but I also think they just ran out of gas. I mean, let's say the starting pitching was good, right? Let's say the Brewers, I don't know, they threw 25 innings over 4, and they had a 3 ERA. Well, you're still losing. You can't hit 118 in 4 games and hope to win more than 1. You might win 1, but I mean, you're not winning a series hitting 118 anyway. You cut it.
I was rooting for Yelich, man. I really wanted Yelich to come out and play. Churio hit the bomb, which told me, hey, to lead off. I think that was in Game 3. Right. And when he hit the bomb, I said to myself, the hamstring's okay. There's no excuse there anymore. I wanted Yelich to do something. I liked Frelick. I wanted to see Frelick's arm shine a little bit. But look, this is rearranging chairs in the Titanic. You're right. The starting pitching wasn't there. Peralta, I think there's a lot of exhaustion. I think that's a big part of it. But yeah, really, you made this point a long time ago, and I admire it. And you said it very quickly, but I'd like you to unpack it just a little bit. You said something about how the Dodgers front office, they take this big analytical look at finding guys with the best stuff plus. And I think there's a philosophy there with unlimited coffers and this attitude where you don't mind that Glasnow and Snell are absent for a lot of the season. For you, 162 is spring training, part 2, right? You're getting the playoffs. That stuff plus is most critical in the playoff atmosphere. And I think that's the correct take, is like if you target these guys where there's that intangible of stuff plus, where you can look at the pitch shapes, and it is the as objectively as we can say, nastiest pitch shape there is, that's going to win in the playoffs.
It is. And I mean, you look at it, 28 2/3 from the starting pitching staff, 2 earned runs, 11K per 9 in the championship series. So yes, that's elite pitching. The stuff plus is there from Glass and Snell and Shohei. I mean, Shohei's in that category too. We forget because he's an unbelievable all-world hitter, but from a pitching standpoint, he's not that different than Glass and some of these other guys. I mean, he's hurt a lot too. He's had 2 elbow surgeries. I know the second one isn't, it's a UCL. It's not a Tom, whatever. It's essentially a Tommy John surgery, whatever we want to call it. But he's had his share of pitching injuries as well. So, you got to give credit to Friedman because last year they seemingly ran out of pitching and then they routed the Yankees, right? That series didn't really feel particularly close to me last year.
Isn't that interesting? Right. Yeah.
It is. And especially when you think about the fact that the Dodgers did run out of pitching. Like all their guys got hurt. I mean, they were throwing guys out there. No one even knew who they were. And they still won the World Series.
Careful now. You're supporting my Aaron Judge for MVP argument that offense is all that matters.
I don't know about that. I think Dave Roberts did a really good job managing. And I also think that the Dodgers could afford to pay random relievers like $15 million a year just to be around. And then to your point, I mean, they can take a month off in the regular season and play 500 ball and they're probably going to be fine. I mean, they almost got snake bit by that, but I think their over under for wins this year was like 104. What'd they win? 94?
It was 90s. It was definitely not hundo. That's what caught my eye in the standings. Yeah.
I'll check here in a minute, but I think they missed their win total by like 10 this year. So I mean, don't get me wrong, they're a dominant team. 93 wins actually. So it's all come together this year at the right time for them. Glass is healthy. Snell looks really good. Shohei looks really good from a pitching standpoint, and Yamamoto also looks really good. He's not quite as dominant necessarily, but he's got that pitchability aspect to him, and that splitter he has is nasty.
I've got a little bit of that Dusty Baker eye test magic in me. I think it's the the French Canadian mystic.
I always love a little magic.
And when I'm watching him pitch, it's that nonplussed. That's more Film Aton. Shout out, Dad. It's more of this effortless painter. A little bit like Kirby in that way, but it's so whippy with his motion. It's almost like he's just up there throwing batting practice. He's like throwing batting practice to his son in the home derby, just dotting fastballs. And when I watch him, I just feel so confident, right? It's like watching a good film where you trust the intentionality of the director, that they're taking you meaningfully from scene to scene. And so your mind wants to zone in on every prop they are showing you in order to process the information that it contains as a hint to the end of the story. With Yamamoto, that trust is built with me as the viewer. There isn't a lot of body language that says, I didn't mean to do that, or, I wasted a pitch there. It really feels like an intentional story is being told as he moves his body language across the mound.
Well, I'll say, too, that, when I see a pitching duel, I feel like a seven-year-old at Disney World,
Me too.
Meaning Mickey Mouse and the gang, it's just I just feel it's like euphoric, like watching a masterful pitcher throw 7-8 innings of shutty ball. Or a complete game like Yamamoto, right?
A quick note on the Dodgers rotation. I think when you were talking about Glass and using that as his nickname for a second, it reminds me of Charles Dickens and his use of the aptronym, the name that is perfectly befitting of a character containing their personality within it. For example, there's a school teacher in a Dickens book called Professor grinds down the grads in the cold millhouse of education. And I think to myself, Glass, right? Glass now, and Snell sounds like smell. And Ohtani is so close to Tommy John is coming again.
See, I think that's better for me because I feel like I'm not creative enough to like for my name to be like Samuel Clemens and come up with Mark Twain. Like, I don't think I'm that guy, right? I think taking Glass now to Glass is like good enough for me.
Well, my point is they all sound brittle and broken and injury prone.
He is right. There's function in the nickname, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not glass now. It's not glass later. It's glass now. He's gonna break. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
But we're gonna ride the Stuff Plus wave through the playoffs.
I want to touch on Dave Roberts for a second, and I actually do appreciate Dan Wilson on this a little bit as well as a new manager. But there is a battle versus campaign, clarification that I think has to be made for people when they look at the MLB postseason. I think it's tempting to look at one game and think about what a manager should have done here, should have done there, but they're not thinking about it in the sense of looking at it from a campaign of 20 different games strung together. Like when you think about Alexander's campaign, all the way to, modern day Pakistan. But it's a string of successes and all of them affected the next. And that's how the postseason is as well. And Dave Roberts is very good at thinking about how fresh arms in the CS will play into the World Series. And I think you have to think that way as a big league skipper.
Yeah, he's definitely House of Trades, plans within plans and all that. He's thinking not in terms of pitch sequencing between even at bats, but pitch sequencing across games. It's like the great aces. They really keep a book on the hitters they face to remember. What's that famous Maddox thing my father-in-law always talks about? What was it, like Maddox throws lobs a ball, I think, to Bagwell or Berkman or something like that. Maybe it's Biggio, one of the B's, and he crushes out of the park. And he gets interviews like, why'd you hang that? Like, why'd you throw it down the middle? Or why'd you, signal that? And he goes, because I'm thinking about October. Because now next time he sees that. Right. It's just like, that's the stuff that I really love.
Was that Bagwell or was that Barry? We should look. We should look that up later, and we'll bring it back on the pod next time. Because I can't say for sure. I've heard the quote. I feel like that might be Barry. But
I think it's Barry Bonds. I think Maestro's bias was.
You think I'm right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you're wrong about Cal, but I think you're right about this.
Yeah. Well, I was right about him hitting 247 this year, but yeah.
Back to Dan Wilson, though. I mean, I definitely was one of those fans who was like, why are you pulling these guys when they're rolling? I was texting you about this during the game, but you're right. I mean, he won, right?
Yep.
He won.
Well, the other thing too is, I think something that is sometimes a little distorted is why guys get pulled, and also from a resource intensive standpoint, what really weighs on a guy, and it's really more so the high stress innings than it is the number of pitches that you're throwing. And that's what pitching coaches will tell you, right?
That's right.
Logan threw back-to-back 30-plus pitch innings. That's worse than throwing 95 pitches and never really running into a 30-pitch inning.
Of course, baby. Rhythm is all.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly. So, like Logan the other day, I mean, didn't look good, right? Full transparency, I was listening to that one on the radio, but I mean, I saw clips after, and then I also heard people talking about it, but he had some really high intensity, high stress innings. And, Dan pulled him early, and the bullpen came out, Bizzardo took over, and they ended up winning that game. And that game looked rough. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was the third inning. The Jays were tied, but then it looked like they were going to take the lead. And Logan got out of it. I want to say he got Vlad out, who's hitting like 500 this postseason, so that's an accomplishment. But yeah, I mean, Dan was quick to pull Logan, and I mean, it ended up being the right move because now Logan's fresh.
The adrenaline dump is so real. Like when Scooble was fist pumping after a critical K in his last performance. What was he? His pitch count was like, I think it was like almost in the 90s. And there was definitely the argument of like, well, he could go like 105. He's gone 103 or 5 before or something. Yeah. But he adrenaline dumped so hard. The broadcast said this, walking back into the dugout. I think it was like Pierzynski said it or something, or Wainwright. Maybe it was Waino. That like, how are you going to come back out there? you know? So whether it's a high leverage inning or the high leverage pitch that you get very excited about, you dump all that energy, man, it is an anticlimax to get back out there on the bump and have to warm up again. Who wants to do that?
Well, right. So, Jeez and Crow, who wants to do that, right?
We'll work on it.
Yeah, it's also one of these things where if you have an inning where you have to get 5 outs, God forbid 6 outs, right, where your team's just fumbling the ball. I mean, that's the worst, right? Then you're 40 pitches in. I mean, it's just, it kills you. It kills you out there. And imagine, you know, you're in that Houston heat or something like that. You know, it's like 100 degrees out, triples, right? So, I mean, that's what gets a guy out of a game, and it needs to get him out of the game if you're going to keep that guy healthy. So, believe it or not, Johnny, we're 45 minutes in. It's like smooth as butter talking on this pod. I did not realize that we had been going so long. I can pontificate with the best of them, and I feel like you can too. And that's how we get yamming and hamming.
And that's going to wrap it for us here on another edition of the Painting Corners Baseball Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your co-host, Johnny C. That's Aidan, signing off. Have a lovely and wonderful, safe end of your weekend. Happy Sunday. Go M's. Go Dodgers. Anyway, via con Dios and good night.
Baseball for the loyal fan from spring into fall. Aidan's talking facts, John's postulating them all. Through training camp, the dog days, seasons, ebbs and flows. Losing streaks and winning ones, they're talking about it all. Listening to Painting Corners, a baseball podcast with insights for you. Listening to Painting Corners.